garden, which is two things. Number one is drought resistant, because no matter what, even if we get El Niños 3 years in a row, we're still going to be worried about droughts down the road. And very importantly, fire safe. And this would be done by the master gardeners in Marin, and it would rotate, so it would be different things at different times. And there'd be signs and all this informational stuff. And hopefully people drive by one day and say, hey, that looks pretty good. I'm going to tear out my junipers and cut down my pine tree and pull out the grass and do something like this. That's the gist of the proposal. It has a budget that goes along with it. The budget, as I like the word that he uses, a rough and generous budget estimate would be about $30,000, which I thought was maybe a little high. It explains in detail what goes into that. Part of the project that we're going to be working on with, I don't want to say with Todd because it won't necessarily always be with Todd. One of the things that I envision in that is it's in the implementation phase that we're going to try to identify some property owners in strategic locations and work with them to create demonstration properties that are kind of before and after. So look like this, we did all these things, look how great we look, and have an opportunity maybe to help with some of that so that people can come by and say, wow, you know, that does really look good. Because a lot of times people don't make vegetation changes because they think it's going to detract from how their property looks. You can do good. So I think there's a lot of value to this. I had one thought on the budgeting. You know, in the large scheme of things, up to $30,000, I don't think is the end of the world. We do have an agreement where every year we contribute up to $10,000 for the maintenance of that station. I was kind of thinking of getting back to them and saying, we'll give you 30, knock off the 10 for us this year, but you know, not making it binding. That's just kind of chewing on it a little bit. But I would like to see us consider moving forward because I think it's a very good concept. I like the fact that the master gardeners are doing it, and it's very visible. So I think it'll get a lot of, it'll be a big return.
And it relieves the firefighters from having to take care of the lawn out, which they can't stand doing that. So,
any discussion on that? Any comments?
Is it going to be pedestrian friendly and welcoming for families?
Yes. So it won't be like a playground, but what I see, and you're happy if someone, it looks like, it's really hard to see it, but it looks like little paths and all. You know, the bench stays there.
Great.
There's a path to the bench and all. So yeah, it's
So
meant to go around and look at it and then read the sign. This is whatever.
Maybe George Lucas will want to pay for it.
all right, next up is the Ross Valley Paramedic Authority.
Oh, I do want to ask one, so on this, are we, is this something we want to let the chief know we want to go forward with?
Yes, I'll make a motion to go ahead and participate in the garden, subject to getting a budget and a cap of not more than 30,000. And if you can do your magic with the offset for the 10.
I'll see if I can negotiate a little bit better.
So,
Second motion?
all in favor?
Aye. Okay.
The next item is Ross Valley Paramedic Authority. That's me. Just to let you know that our executive officer of 20 years, Chief Sinnott in Larkspur, has resigned. He's retired from the Larkspur Fire Department as chief. He was also the assistant city manager. He was immediately hired by the San Rafael Fire Department as their deputy chief. So he had to step down as the executive officer. He's been a wonderful executive officer. The Ross Valley Paramedic Authority is the gold standard in communities of our type for not only the quality of the service we provide, but the results that we get as well. We work very closely with Marin General Hospital and really enviable results, especially when it comes to the CAF unit at Marin General. And a lot of the credit for that goes to Chief Sinnott. So having lost him, we have an interim executive officer. He's Marin County Fire Chief Jason Weber, who wears a lot of hats. And Frank was a founder of the Ross Valley Paramedic Authority 35 years ago, 33 years ago. So Sleepy Hollow has always had a big stake in the Paramedic Authority, especially because we're at the end of the service area. So what happens at the Paramedic Authority really matters to us. Frank pioneered the engine medic program, so every fire engine that responds to us out here carries paramedics on it. We don't have to wait for the ambulance to get a paramedic. We do need to wait for the ambulance for transport, and that's where the issues now lie for the future of the Paramedic Authority. We have just way too many calls for service where people refuse treatment or refuse transport after we've treated them on scene. And frankly, we make our money by billing their insurance companies if they're non-residents. If you're a resident, it's all free, by the way. You pay a paramedic authority tax. We approved it out here. It's a tremendous bargain. A ride to the hospital is about $2,000 in an ambulance from Sleepy Hollow. So you pay per dwelling unit, $60 a year, something like that, for your paramedic service. That's a good deal. But we're trying to work with our business model to harvest a little bit more revenue from non-residents who use our ambulance service. And I'm a member of the newly appointed Finance Subcommittee to try to explore what the long-term financial sustainability of the paramedic authority looks like without changes being made to what we do, and explore possible future changes. Okay? So it's in good shape. We're looking to get it ready for the next 20 years. The last item is just miscellaneous reports and announcements. Anybody? None? And then the final item is item 16 of the fire pumps program update. Just to let you know, on July 12th, we trained 3 more participants to receive fire pumps at their home. They executed the paperwork. We delivered the fire pumps to their home. Our insurance carrier has told us to be more discreet about publicizing the locations of the fire pumps, the specific locations by address, for fear that they'll be tampered with or stolen or stripped for copper and other parts that may be in them. Most of these fire pumps sit outside with a cover that we provide. Very few are hidden away under some sort of shelter, so we're loath to disclose the locations of these pumps. We know where they are, and every fire vehicle in Ross Valley has a book that shows where these pumps are. So we now have 33 out in the field, and we're going to take a pause because we are going to defer to the fire chief as to whether and how many more we need. We have, actually I take that back, we have 32 out, we have 2 in reserve, and 2 participants who signed up many years ago to participate in the program. We've asked the fire department to examine their locations to determine if they deserve priority. One of them, I've been told, already does. So we're looking at the last one. And then we take a break from fire pumps for a while. We'll have basically a necklace of fire pumps around the perimeter of Sleepy Hollow. Can't tell you more than that. And a few sprinkled in the flats and halfway up the hillsides. This is to allow fire engines not to have to hook up to a fire hydrant, but instead to maybe suction water out of a swimming pool and to use it to replenish their trucks rather than sit and wait tethered to a fire engine. In only extreme cases do we want the residents to use the fire pump themselves, and only under the supervision of a firefighter, because they're very powerful, impressive machines. Comments? Carol Cage?
How many are still in the warehouse?
Well, we don't have a warehouse, but we have 2 in reserve. They are in my backyard. I shouldn't say that because I've disclosed where they are. But we're about to move them.
They're in reserve.
We're about to move them to a new location. One of them, as I said, is ready to be deployed. The other one is, the pump needs a little bit of work. I want to go on record of thanking Aaron Reed of the Ross Valley Fire Department, a bright young engineer who's taken responsibility as our liaison with the program. He and I deliver the pumps together, train the participants together. He's doing a magnificent job, great PR, big strapping young guy. Everybody loves to see him pull up in the driveway in his uniform. It's really a great program. Evelyn?
I just really want to thank you for the pumps. All these things on this list are tremendous, and you're just doing a fantastic job, and it really makes me feel safe. So I really want to thank you. I think we all feel that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I see someone with their hand up back there?
Oh, I was just, are the pumps in Woodacre then? I asked about this at the meeting before you did this training, and I was told that you'd have to supply in the warehouse, which I understood to be in Woodacre at the county storage. So if we have the right to more of them, I'm just curious, how many more beyond those 2 reserves do we have?
Maybe you're misinformed. We buy the pumps ourselves.
Right,
Our district purchases the pumps, gets them delivered,
right.
and then we deploy them. They don't go anywhere near Whitaker. They've never left our district.
Okay. Thank you.
we've completed the agenda. No further business to come before the meeting. I'm going to move, someone else should move since I'm chairing the meeting.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor, aye? Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.